Hey there, it's Phil, and we're back again. Me and my buddy Peter here. Say hi, Peter.
Hello, folks.
And we're talking Game of Thrones, Season 8, Episode 2. And by the way, where do you find the names for these episodes? I can never find the names until way after, so I have no clue what the name of this episode was. I found out that the last episode was called Winterfell, but
Appropriate.
yeah, very appropriate. And this episode is dubbed the Reunion Continues episode. I don't know.
I would call it the full circle episode.
That's a good one. Yes, the full circle episode. I like that because it did kind of harken back. There were a lot of scenes that harken back to what characters have done before, where they've come from, where they are now. And it was a kind of a little bit of a love letter to the fans who've been watching forever, and a little bit of a reminder of what these characters were versus what they're doing right now, which is trying to cheat death, more or less. But a good episode. I thought it was a pretty solid episode. We'll give it a final rating at the end, but more or less a good episode. So we're gonna start this podcast talking about what I thought was the central player in this little adventure, and that's Jaime Lannister. He was part of the cliffhanger from last week, and this episode just took us straight into the scenes from the preview where he was sort of being questioned. But before we go into the different reunions that he had, I will make a short comment about how I like the way they're doing these previews. Even the previews for the season were kind of the same, where they're only kind of giving us the beginning of the episodes. I mean, it looks like it's these really huge scenes that are going to take up half of the episode, but they're moving at a really quick pace, but a very good pace. It doesn't feel rushed, but they're getting things out of the way really quick, especially that courtroom scene.
That was dealt with pretty quickly.
Exactly. I mean, I listened.
Much to Daenerys' chagrin.
Yes.
She would have liked for that to have gone on longer.
No, for sure. And I think that's cool that the writers are able to do that, because during the week, I listen to a lot of podcasts on Game of Thrones during the week because I'm obsessed with the show and theories and stuff. And so many podcasts were talking about how important these scenes were going to be and how it's going to create this tension.
They were important.
They were, but it didn't you feel like it was going to be something that was going to last an episode long?
No, because I didn't watch the previews.
Oh, okay.
I didn't care.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that there were previews and I didn't show them to you.
Yeah.
But it seemed like it was going to be... But even without watching the previews, I mean, they had this big cliffhanger with Jaime and Bran. You thought it was going to be something... Tension. There would be more tension.
No, I knew it was going to be like that because Bran has grown so much as a character that I think he is beyond holding grudges.
But what about everybody else, though? Everybody else at Winterfell? That's what I was thinking about. I figured Bran was going to be like whatever, but I thought there was going to be way more tension between him and Daenerys, especially.
Well, that's where Brienne comes in.
Yes. So
Brienne totally saved the day.
She saved the day.
He's my fucking brother, so lay off. He's here, no one else is, so yes.
Yeah, no, so it was well done. It didn't feel rushed, because if the season were longer, perhaps we could have had more of that, but they're just getting straight to the point this season, which is fine. Okay, I'm enjoying it so far. It's been pretty solid. So we mentioned Bran. How'd you feel about his meeting with Bran? Did that go as planned?
I thought it was a perfect moment because for me, like what comes from a long-term television series, when you bring it to an end, you have to have resolution. You have to connect the end to the beginning. In a literary sense, like in order for it to work, you have to show like the growth of the characters. And for me, like the first episode is Jaime pushing Bran out a window.
Mm-hmm.
And for them to meet in the last season and to reflect on all they've been through since then. We're not those people anymore. Like, I'm not, Jamie says, I'm not sorry I did it. I would do it again, which is awesome. But, at the same time, for them to realize, like, we're not those people anymore. We've come a long way. It really served the development of the theme of the show. And to add to that, a big part of the theme of Game of Thrones is it's a genre of swords and sorcery and fantasy where it's traditionally good versus evil. And in this show, it's not good versus evil. It's always shades of gray, right? You're free to choose who you want to root for. But now that we're coming down to it, it is becoming black and white. And Jamie is on the white side. You never would have thought that. Watching the first season, Jamie Lannister in the first season is an evil motherfucker. And we see him come to this point.
It's incredible how he's developed as a character. Because
Yeah.
I was rooting for him to die for at least 3 seasons.
Yeah.
Because he was, you have characters in shows that are those that you love to hate, like Cersei. Like Cersei, I never wanted to die. Like, no, Cersei's got to make it to the
Yeah,
end.
of course.
But him, I'm like, as much as I loved what they were doing with the characters, like, oh, I hope he gets it. Like, what's his name there? The kid, King Joffrey.
Joffrey.
It's like that guy that you love to hate, but you really do hate, and you can't wait to see him get his. And everybody was, I'm sure, was
And it came
jumping
so
in glee.
unexpectedly.
Yeah, and then everybody jumped in glee when he died. And Jamie was on that list for me of a really great character that I hated, but I wanted to see him get his. Unlike Cersei, which is a character that we also hate, but how could you? She's got to last till the end, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that now he's the character you're rooting for. Jamie is the character that you really want to see get his full redemption arc. These are the seeds of it. And he's just come, like you said, he's come, not full circle, he's grown, he's developed. That's what good literature should do. The character shouldn't be the same in the beginning.
But it really has become black and white, hasn't it?
Yes.
Like it used to be shades of gray. Like okay, whether you root for the Lannisters or the Targaryens or the Starks or blah, blah, blah. It's like, everybody is morally compromised. Robb Stark was morally flawed. And so was Catelyn Stark, like they were not perfect people. So you couldn't really say that they were the good guys. But now that, that everyone is facing this life or death battle, and Cersei has sold everybody out, sent everyone up north to die.
Yes.
Like, these are the good guys, and everyone else is the bad guys.
Yes.
Now there are clear moral lines defined.
Yeah, it's much more simplistic. It's much more malleable for television. I think that's somewhat of a criticism you can give of the shows ever since they got past the book material, that it's become much more like your average television show, but definitely not your average television show, right? But it works more with those TV tropes, which is fine. I'm good with it as long as they do it well. Which, like I think I said in the last podcast, that I didn't feel season 5, which I think was the first season where they were kind of starting to go off on their own. I don't think they did a very good job at that. But since season 6, they've gotten the balance a little bit better. And so far, these 2 episodes, the balance has been really good as far as having it be good for TV, but also not brain dead, even though we do have a very clear lines of good versus evil. But I liked his meeting with Bran.
He was cool.
He was cool. I didn't expect...
You crippled me, but I got a cool power out of it, so yeah.
So it was all kind of meant to be. And then, but then that Bran line when he said, because Jamie's like, but what if after it's all over, are you going to kill me? Although you were surprised that Jamie did say sorry to Bran. He did say sorry.
I did, yeah. It was like, he's not going to say sorry. And the first thing he did was say, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry for what I did. and then he did. They had a super short little heart-to-heart, and then Jamie said, I'm surprised he didn't kill me. And he said, how could I we need people for the army, right? You can't really fight if you're dead. And he said, well, what about after? And Bran was like, how do you know there's going to be an after? I was like, oh, shit, what has he seen?
Yeah.
What has he seen for the future? Now, another great character meeting for Jaime is with Brienne.
Ah, yeah.
The love of his life.
Yeah, well, the second biggest love of his
Well,
life.
yeah. Although I think she's been pushed to the curb. But it started with him going up to see her and letting her know that he wanted to fight in her army.
Yes.
Which was really cool.
As an underling.
As an underling, exactly. So he's been totally humbled.
Yeah.
He's been totally humbled, which is really cool to see him in that role. And she accepted him. But the big scene, and we're going to talk more about this scene later, more detail, but they had a scene inside of a little room with a little fire. What do you call those?
Fireplaces.
Fireplaces, yeah. No, man. Peter and I, we live in Brazil. I don't think I've said the word fireplace in the last 10 years because, I mean, we don't need them down here. So you have these brain farts every once in a while. So that happens sometimes. Yes, the fireplace. Very logical name for this place where you have a fire.
Place where you have a fire.
But anyway, and so we're going to talk a little bit more about that scene later. But in that scene, something very special happens between Jaime and Brienne, which I got a little emotional over. Because she's always said she didn't want to be a knight. But I think that's just her ego talking. Because she couldn't be a knight because of tradition. And Jaime knights her. He lets her know that, hey, another knight can knight somebody. That's part of the rule, right? Because they were going to call her sir. And he's like, oh, no, I'm sorry, lady, because you're not a knight. And how'd you feel about her finally getting her knighthood?
You know, for me, it wasn't the knighthood so much. It was just that whole scene of, like, all the warriors, like, all the people who've been on opposite sides for so long, sitting around, getting drunk, knowing that they're gonna fucking die the next morning, and just doing, like, what the fuck ever, man. Like,
we'll get there. You're moving ahead. I want to know about.
All right, you have a script. All right.
Yes. How do you feel about Brienne getting her knighthood?
I thought it was awesome. I mean, it was long overdue. I mean, I'm watching season 2 backtracking right now, and when Brienne is introduced, she's actually a terribly insecure woman.
Yes.
For how much, like, ass she kicks.
Yes.
over the course of the series, she's very insecure. And Jaime actually, like, really elevates her sense of self-respect quite a bit. And I think for her to be knighted by Jaime really meant a lot to her.
It did. You could see it in her face. That was a great acting job by her. Because I agree with you. And I think it's got a little bit to do with the fact that she's a woman and she can't, whatever, that the medieval glass ceiling of being a knight. She couldn't break that, and I think sometimes when you can't be something, it's like that sour grapes, and you're like, I don't want it. And she's always said that throughout the season. I don't want to be a knight. I don't want to be a knight. I don't want to be a knight. But then you saw in her face that was the one thing that she wanted the most, and it caught me by surprise because I actually believed her through a lot of the series when she said, "Oh, I'm not interested in being a knight."
It wasn't just that she became a knight; it was that because she was knighted by Jaime. I think that.
Oh, that was an extra. Yeah, that was extra icing on the cake. But I think that was something important for her as a character, and it was a woman moment. Which, by the way, I think we're gonna touch on that a little bit later. There was another kind of woman moment that they had this episode, but it was kind of cool to have a little bit of a woman moment in all this death and blood and macho whatever the hell is about to go down. But so Jaime for me gets a 10. I loved it. What they did with him this episode.
He might well be the second best character in the series.
Yes, this really just tied up all the loose ends with Jaime, and there were a lot of them.
Yes,
made you feel good about him. I predict, and I think Peter also does that, maybe he's not going to die at the Battle of Winterfell, but he's not making it to the end of this series.
I think Cersei's going to off him.
Yes, no, I think so too. And Well, no, I don't know if she's gonna off him because I think he's gonna off her. But he's not gonna make it somehow, some way. He's not gonna make it. Maybe within that, within all this offing each other off, they're both gonna be offed.
I think Cersei might make it actually.
Oh man, we'll see. That's after the Battle of Winterfell. That's
Alright.
something to think about for the future. Some more death predictions, but I definitely think he's surviving the Battle of Winterfell. But if he dies, I think he had good closure for his character.
Yes.
I think his character had really good closure.
Yes.
Now, somebody else that showed up very quickly that I was just happy to see just because I like him. He didn't do much. He sang like a crappy song. Is Podrick. It was just nice to see the kid. You know, he's grown a lot. He
They didn't do much with him though.
didn't do much, but he's not a character that you do much with. I mean,
No.
he's just a nice kid. I mean, he's a character that throughout the series I didn't mind, even though he doesn't really do much. But
Well, one thing he did do was grow. He
Yes.
grew quite a bit,
yes,
but we didn't see any of that in this episode. It's just like, well, he's there.
yeah, he's there. I mean,
And Brienne is like, yes, he's come a long way.
he's come a long way. He's fighting much better. He's a little stronger. So it's cool to see characters that you kind of see them grow up.
Yeah.
And well, that's we're doing a lot of foreshadowing here because there's another. Well, actually, that's our next topic. Speaking of characters we've seen grown up, Gendry in
Gendry.
our area.
Arya.
Oh my God,
Oh my God.
I wasn't feeling it.
Oh man.
She got down and dirty.
Look, the girl, like, I know it's inappropriate because we started watching the show in 2011 when she was like 13 years old,
Yes.
and you don't want to see 13-year-old girls get fucked.
Yes.
But it's 2019 now. She's a grown woman.
Oh, I know.
It's natural that she's horny. Gendry has been her best friend for all that time. And it's her last night on Earth, possibly.
Yes. No, it
Why
made
not?
sense. It made
Why
sense.
not?
It made total sense script-wise, but at the same time, I'm like, that's my little girl.
I know.
I don't want to see her half breast. They even, they have.
Yeah, no, not half-breasted. We saw her full fucking boobies, man.
Did it? I didn't
Yeah.
notice. I thought it was kind of like a side shot.
I
Like
noticed.
it didn't have like
Yeah.
the nipple. But
Yeah.
in either case, it was just weird, and mostly because what's her name, Macy, right? The
Macy
actor.
Williams,
Yeah,
She's a big social media activist.
Oh, I
too.
didn't know. I just know I've seen her obviously in Game of Thrones, and she did a couple episodes of Doctor Who that were really good with Peter Capaldi, and she doesn't give off a sexual energy. Like even throughout the show, she's been the warrior. She's been just on her own. It's just something about her. I love her as an actress and the character of Arya, although they did some really boring stuff with her for a little while, but she just never seemed like the character where that would matter to like
On your last night on Earth?
Oh, I guess, yeah. I mean, it just kind of felt because when the first episode this season, when she saw Gendry again, you could see that it was a little bit of a smile, like she liked him.
Yeah, she's not in love with the guy or anything.
Yeah, I think she just needed to get off.
Yeah.
But it was just weird to see. I mean, again, like I said, I think it made perfect sense within the story, but it's like watching your kid having sex.
Yeah.
Imagine, like, I don't want to see.
Black Mirror shit.
Yeah, like, I don't want to see my kids doing it. And
Yeah.
so, but yeah, she's a big girl.
Yeah.
Now, so it made sense. It made sense. It was. I'm looking at it from a parental view of like, oh my god, or your kids seeing their parents have sex. Nobody wants to see their relatives doing it. Okay,
Right.
but I'm happy that she got her jam on.
She's not gonna die a virgin.
She's not gonna die a virgin, and well, Gendry's already screwed a couple people, so he's not either. Now let's move on to more women. Now we got Daenerys, and she had a lot of things going on this episode, and I don't think many of them went her way.
No.
At all.
She got undermined quite a bit.
Right in the first scene,
Yeah.
right? Because she was ready to do something to Jaime, and then Brienne stepped up and saved Jaime's ass, but
Okay.
Sansa sided with Brienne, and
But that's the thing about
Young.
Daenerys. Like,
Yes.
okay, she is a flawed leader,
extremely.
but she surrounds herself with people who are smarter than her
Hmm.
and counsel her in the right direction. So they usually prevent her from making terrible mistakes.
Hmm.
And that was what basically happened here. Like, she was ready to fucking burn Jaime at the stake. And well, the stuff that happened at the end of the episode, we'll talk about that later. But still, she is impulsive, and she is ready to make bad decisions. And guys like Jorah and Tyrion, they always step in and say, like, "Look, girl, calm the fuck down. You more or less have the right idea, but your emotions are taking control of you. So let us be the head, you be the heart, and in between, we'll manage shit."
We'll manage to get something going.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she was undermined at the beginning, and then she had a heart to heart with Sansa, which
That was a great
Jorah's.
scene.
Yeah, it was Jorah's, because Jorah went to talk to her and told her, first off, Tyrion is the best dude for this job.
Yes.
Forgive him.
Yeah.
That was his first piece of advice, because she was ready to chop off his head too.
She was.
Yes. But then he said, "And another piece of advice I have for you," and then there was a cut to the next scene, which is her going to talk to Sansa, and that was a great scene. And I mentioned a little bit of that woman power. I like that Game of Thrones doesn't always play those, the cards, whatever, race cards, gender
Race,
cards.
Gender, yeah.
But at the same time, it's nice to acknowledge that, okay, yeah, you do have a couple very strong women in power that have gone through a lot of shit,
Yeah.
and yet they're there. So it was nice to acknowledge it.
Yeah, well, how about how strong Sansa has become?
Oh yeah, who would have thunk it, man?
Yeah, she was a fucking wimp, man.
Oh yeah, I was ready to see her go for
Yeah.
a long time, and then I just rewatched most of Game of Thrones these last couple of months, and I had forgotten when that transition came, and I paid attention.
I think it was getting raped by Ramsay.
No,
actually.
do you know when it was? And I was really paying attention to it. It was when she was at her aunt's, that aunt with the moon,
Yeah,
the crazy aunt, and the scene where Littlefinger
Pushes her out
pushes
the
the
alley.
aunt, and then they're questioning Littlefinger, and Sansa lies for him.
Right.
And then in the very next scene, she comes out and she's got this really like dark dress on. That was the change, and even the music. Like when she
Right.
came out to meet Littlefinger, like after all of that, because Littlefinger's talking to the people and that were there, and they're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry for all that happened to you," blah blah blah. And then Sansa comes out. Even Littlefinger, he's shocked to see her because she had a different dress on. It wasn't the little girl dress. It was a little like maybe cut a little bit lower. She was feeling herself a little bit more. That, hey, I need to be a little bit ruthless in order to survive all of this. Of course, she gets literally screwed by
Yeah.
Littlefinger. But because of the fact of what that transformation, I think that's what made her be able to survive the rapes and everything that happened to her while she was with what's his name?
Ramsay.
With Ramsay. But it was cool because I love character transformations, and sometimes when something's very long, you tend to forget, like, when exactly did that happen? That shift?
Yeah.
And that's the exact scene. I was really trying to pay attention for that. And it's a beautiful scene because she comes in and the music even like dun dun, like this kind of dark music, and you see, she's now the new Sansa,
Yeah.
who's realizing it's a cruel world, and she's got to be cruel in order to survive it. And she's
Yeah.
been different ever since.
And what I noticed in that scene with her and Daenerys is that Daenerys actually treats her like an equal, which is not like her.
Yes.
Like, Daenerys is kind of a snob, frankly.
Extremely.
And when she's a guest in Sansa's home, she actually kind of gives ground a bit to Sansa.
Well, I think she's doing it, one, because of Jon Snow, and
Because
two,
of Jon, yeah.
yeah, and two, because she's really out of her realm. I mean,
Yeah, she
literally
doesn't
out of
know
her
where the
realm.
fuck she is.
Yeah, so she has to kind of give
It's
way
one
a
of
little
those
bit.
you're not as smart as you think you are moments.
Oh yeah, and it's a good strategy for her because she needs the North in order to beat these walkers, White Walkers, whatever. So she's doing that thing. She's doing the smart thing there. She's doing the smart thing. But she did have her heart to heart, and she, excuse me, she mentioned how what we have in common is that we're two women that are in control and blah blah blah. But then, and this is where we always get those but moments, is at the end of their little conversation, Sansa's like, okay, what happens after? And then Daenerys is like, well, I'm going to take the throne.
Yeah. North? There is no fucking North.
Yeah, because Sansa's like, and what about the North? You know, because we fought to free ourselves from the throne. And you see Daenerys pulls her hand away because they were holding hands. They were having a real tender moment between the two of them.
Yeah.
Where they're really understanding each other as women, as counterparts. Well, you know, more or less counterparts. And when she said that, and that's where Daenerys is fucked up. That's where I think it's going to be her downfall because she wants that throne more than anything. And she's willing to do anything to have that throne. And I think that's the little bit of the Mad King that's in her.
Yeah.
And you can't trust her. And we'll talk about what that could mean a little bit later in this podcast with a little revelation that comes out. A little revelation, right? But, yeah, so this episode for me was Daenerys continuing to lose. Because I thought the first episode, too, nobody likes her.
She's not winning the battle of hearts and minds.
No, she's not. And this episode is only continued that trend for her character. And I think it's going to start irking her. And I noticed something, I don't know if it was intentional by the directors, but because when they were interrupted, it was because Theon had arrived.
Right.
And Sansa went to hug him, and Daenerys ended up being in the background of the scene. You know, the foreground was Sansa and Theon hugging, and you could see Daenerys in the back, like, what's going on? And I don't think she has anybody that gives her that love, gives her, you know, she's got, like you said, these people around her that guide her and give her good advice, but I don't think she that connection that she had with somebody that's an enemy, you know, because Theon was an enemy to Sansa.
Yeah.
He took Winterfell.
Yeah, she thought he murdered her brothers.
Yes. So Daenerys, I don't think she gets that stuff. I think that's where she fails as a leader. And in some earlier seasons, she made mistakes like that. I remember there's an episode where she had freed a bunch of people, but then she found out that one guy was possibly trying to murder her. It was when they had those masks, you know, the slaves that got in the mask.
Yeah. The harpies.
Yes. And then she takes the guy out in the middle of the public with all the people that she had liberated, and she's going to execute them, public execution. And he's begging for mercy. And the people are saying, mercy, give him mercy. And she looks and...
Yeah.
And the people start hissing at her.
Yeah.
It was a really strong scene, and it shows that, man, she doesn't get it. She doesn't get how to play the Game of Thrones, you know, I guess you could say. She doesn't get that part. She just gets the part of, I kill an enemy, I defeat an enemy, that's one step closer to where I need to be. I kill another guy or defeat them, that gets me, and then I can liberate some people along the way, which is nice and sweet and all, but she's ready to chop off heads. She's a dangerous woman.
Yeah, she's basically like a prototype for like a 1960s communist almost. like she has these ideals, but she pursues them so ruthlessly that she loses sight of her original goal.
Yes. And so for these reasons and more, I think I like I said, I do check out a lot of podcasts and internet what do you call them, articles throughout the week, and you'd be surprised how the tide has really turned on Daenerys as far as fan reaction. Like a lot of fans aren't digging her as much as they were before, because before, her story was such a beautiful story. Like she come from nothing
Yeah.
to achieve something, but slowly you're starting to see that maybe she doesn't really deserve to be.
She's got a little bit of the Mad King in her.
Yeah, or she shouldn't be in power. And yeah, exactly what you said. She's got a little bit of the Mad King. And my prediction is that she's going down at the Battle of Winterfell. Next episode, she's dead.
Yeah, she's not going to live to see the end of the series.
Yeah, but I don't think she's going to live to see the end of the next episode. I think she which I touched on last podcast, is that we're talking about coming full circle. For her, coming full circle means learning how to have that self-sacrifice, and I think that's gonna be her end. She's gonna realize, especially, we don't want to talk too much about it yet. Well, everybody watched the episode, so we know that Jon Snow told her who. Okay, so, but we'll talk about that more in depth. But especially now that she knows that, hey, I'm not actually the heir to the throne. That's gonna fuck with her head. She's gonna do something stupid, or she got two ways to go. Either she's gonna really self-sacrifice for once, or she's just gonna do something stupid, or who knows, maybe she'll kill Jon Snow in order to preserve her throne. Who knows? But something definitely serious is gonna go down with Daenerys next episode. They're building up to it. We shall see. Now, moving on. Now we're getting to... Well, we're not going to get to the hot stuff yet. We're just going to touch on a little bit more of a love connection, which is Grey Worm and Missandei. And they showed up a little bit more this episode. Grey Worm was all over this episode, which to me, I'm playing the Walking Dead style of writing here, because on The Walking Dead, whenever you start to see a lot of a character that you never saw before, all of a sudden they give them a real emotional episode, and you get this great backstory, and you're like, oh yeah, they're dead. And I think that was a total, dead, tattooed across little Grey Worm's head this episode. He came full circle too, as far as they're up in the north, it's cold. They even had a scene where a bunch of white folks walked away.
Yes.
They're not used to having black folk, dark-skinned folk up in the north. They're like, man, after this is done, I'm not staying here.
I like the scene where they met at the tree, and there were a bunch of white folks standing around, and they saw the two black folks getting together, and everyone's like, "Oh, I'm the fuck out of here."
Yeah, exactly. So Grey Worm's like, man, this ain't cool runnings, right? I'm not getting paid. I'm not getting any Olympic medals for being up here. I'm loyal to my queen. I'm going to fight for her. But after this is done, let's do something else. And Missandei agreed. And for me, that's a death note on your head when you are that resolved. Because that was absolutely a resolution of those two characters.
That's like getting a scholarship in Boys in the Hood. It's like, I got a scholarship. My whole life is beautiful. And it's like, well, dude, you're getting killed in a drive-by in the next season.
Exactly. So I feel bad for that, because I do like them. I mean, it's definitely
they're ill-fated characters.
Yeah.
You know that's going to happen.
It's not even they're not even B plot, they're F plot, but it's a cute F plot. It's an F plot that I like, and it's nice to see people of color in Game of Thrones, although I got nothing against all the other characters that are on there. So they're nice, but Grey Worm, sorry dude, liked you, but there's a few theories going around that he's gonna end up as a White Walker. And that's based on an interview that he gave where he was like, I think he said, I think fans are going to feel a little bit weird about the That wasn't exact words, but okay, paraphrasing. People, fans are gonna feel a little bit weird about his character resolution.
Okay.
So whatever that means, but some people are reading that as he's gonna end up as one of the army of the dead. So who knows how he's gonna die, but I don't think it's gonna be in a very natural way. We're gonna see White Walker Grey Worm, the first black member of the army of the dead. Anyway, so now let's get to the hot stuff. The hot stuff. Actually, speaking of hot stuff, let's skip this and go talk about the fire
scene
scene.
by the fire.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's save the best for last.
Yes.
Which is the Jon Snow stuff. But the scene by the fire was incredible too.
Yeah. The thing about the scene by the fire was it was all these people who came from all these different backgrounds and had all these different issues with the Starks. And here they are in Winterfell, partying on what might be their last night on Earth, bonding like brothers. For me, it really brought the whole series full circle. It was a defining moment, almost, actually.
No, I agree. It brought me back to what Game of Thrones did so well for so long, which is just have characters sit down and talk.
Yeah.
And it's been missing a lot, or they've had little versions of it, but this was a whole, like, maybe, I don't know, 10 minutes or so of just that. That was the scene. There wasn't anything.
That was the episode. Actually.
Yeah, that was the episode. There wasn't anything extra that was going to happen. Nobody was going to come barging in and have a big explosion. No, we're just going to have these characters sit around, and they each came in one after the other and talk and drink and give us a little bit of their backstory. And the best backstory, the best backstory was with our friend. I always forget his name.
Yeah, the redheaded dude.
See, guys, we took notes this time, but
Tormund.
Tormund. Oh, look at you! I think you're gonna get it. You're gonna get it. Tormund.
Yes, Tormund. Yeah.
The Giant's Bane. And last week.
Yeah, about how he suckled on a tit for 3 months, and that's why he's so strong.
And it's so weird because I never knew he had a last name until last week when we were looking him up again on Google. Man, we suck at names.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, yeah, there's a last name, Giant's Bane. What a weird name. And then this
episode,
episode,
because
they
he
just
suckled on a giant's tit for 3 months.
Yeah, which
and
is
that's
crazy.
Why he's so
no, and he
strong.
killed the giant too.
Yeah.
And I thought that
And
was
then he
funny.
drank that horn of wine in like 30 seconds.
Yeah, and
too.
it looked like there was milk in it too. Like there was a lot of white stuff coming out. So who knows? He's become a fan favorite.
Yeah.
I think they softened him up a little too much this episode. He's way too friendly, which is fine in a way because you need a little.
Well,
bit of
that kind of
comic
goes with the theme of like dividing good from bad.
Mhm.
Like I said, like the show has always been shades of gray.
Yes.
And now we're getting into good and bad. And yeah,
He's part of
Tormund
good.
falls on the good side.
Yeah, and because before he was
He
definitely
was kind
gray.
of bad.
Yeah, he was gray area.
He was gray, yeah.
But this episode, they lightened his character up like a lot,
Yeah.
which it was good for the comic relief. But at the same time, I thought a few things were.
That's another thing I would like to say, Phil, is that this episode was actually kind of hilarious.
It was funnier than the last
It had
one.
a lot of
Yeah.
comedy. Like,
Yeah.
Game of Thrones is not really known for its comedy.
Mm-hmm.
But this episode, I think they're bracing us for all the horrible shit that's to come.
I know.
So they gave us like an hour of mostly comedy, I think.
No, this episode was a little bit of a love letter to the fans.
Yes.
I think it was absolute fan service, but in the best way possible.
Yeah.
It really it was a great setup episode. And we talked about that last week, that the premiere was a setup episode, but it was a setup episode where some important information was given to put chess pieces in place, so the plot did move forward in a way.
Right.
Whereas this episode, it was absolutely like nothing happened, Really, I mean, you could have cut out this episode, and the story. I mean, you'd still be prepped up for the White Walkers coming. Okay, yeah, Jamie's there. Okay, he showed up, but there really wasn't anything that moved the plot forward. It was people arriving,
Right.
people seeing each other that hadn't seen each other, people telling each other that they love them or that they don't love them, or that they.
What about the
No.
Mormont reunion?
Yeah, people forget. At least I always forget that they're.
Yeah, people forget that little 13-year-old
Is
diehard
related,
is
yeah.
related to Jorah.
Oh yeah, and Jorah got the sword from Sam.
Yeah.
It was good to see Gilly, right?
Yeah.
So again, it was an absolute fan service episode, but it
I
was
agree.
really well done. That
Yes.
it didn't feel like filler. It definitely did not feel like a filler episode, even though technically I think it was. I mean, what happened other than, of course, the Jon Snow moment? That was the
Of
one
course.
moment of this episode that, yes, we got something that is going to affect the future episodes in a
Right.
heavy way. Is that Jon Snow told Daenerys what he found out last week, that he is a Targaryen.
Yep.
They were down in the crypts, and he was in front of the statue of his aunt. What's her name? Lyanna?
Lyanna.
Yeah, Lyanna Stark. And Daenerys talked about her, I guess it was her uncle, right?
Uh,
I don't know how all the connections there. All I know is that in the end, they're related. She didn't believe it. And as she was
her
explaining...
brother.
Was it her brother? But it's not
Yeah,
her brother from the beginning.
Rhaegon Targaryen is her brother.
But it's not her brother from the beginning of the series. It's another guy. They look alike. but
Yeah,
they're different.
no. The brother that got killed by Robert Baratheon on the Trident.
Yeah, so she tells him, and it seemed weird that he looked surprised, like he didn't know this, but she said, well, if this is true, you're the last male heir, and the throne is yours.
Yeah.
And he kind of looked surprised. I was like, wait, he doesn't know the history. But just as she said that, then we did get like an interruption.
The battle. The battle is about to begin.
Yeah, the battle's about to begin. That's what I said. What I like so much about the fireplace scene is that it wasn't something like that where they're all sitting around and then it would be interrupted. No, they just let that scene play out perfectly. But this one, no. This one had that interruption, and they go outside. Little Tyrion's out there, and Jon gives Daenerys this look like, are you ready? And she gives it this look back like,
Yeah.
fuck you.
Yeah.
Because, again, what does that mean for Daenerys?
Her entire life is invalidated, basically.
Her entire journey for this whole series is invalidated in a way, because all she wants is that throne.
Yeah.
And now here's this guy that can just take it from her with no battle, no nothing.
Who also happens to be her nephew that she's been sleeping with.
Oh yeah, there's that part. There's that part. But not only, yeah, but for me the main thing, and not only that, but she's also in love with him.
Yeah.
Is now we're really gonna find out what this woman is made of.
Yes, it's a test of character.
Because here's a man that she loves, and who just totally took away her whole reality, like you just said. So, I don't know. What do you think? What do you think can we look forward to in the next episode with them?
Well, I think your prediction that she will sacrifice herself for Jon is actually a pretty good one. It would be a good ending for her because she has an ending coming. She's not living to see the end of the series. And I think that would be a good one for her. She has devoted her life to a goal that previously seemed unachievable, and now it's right there within her grasp, and now she finds out it belongs to someone else that she loves, and it would be a good end to her character if in some way she sacrifices herself to let him have that. I don't think he's going to have it, honestly. I think something's going to get in the way of that. But if she does something as a gesture, at least, I think that would be a good end for her character, because she has become a very morally confused character towards the end.
If somebody other than her is going to have the throne, it might as well be Jon. So that would make sense. If he's about to die, that would be a great dramatic moment. Like, he's about to die, and she's got this choice to make. She can let him die, because then, obviously, she would keep the throne. Or she can save him, knowing that she might die, and at least he'll have the throne. I mean, of all people to have the throne, I think that she would trust him the most with it.
The thing is, the tradition of George R.R. Martin is not to give fans very satisfying resolutions.
Yeah, but the thing is, I don't think he's that involved anymore in the series. I don't know, at least from interviews, even the one where he gave, where he's like, man, I don't think the series should end now. I think it should keep going. So
Right.
I don't know how much how much creative input he's had. Although a few seasons ago, I did read something that said that he gave them what the end would be.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's like for his books or for the series. Because, man, that guy's old. He's not going to finish these books. I
No,
mean,
he's
that's a pipe dream.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that at the very least, he's got a manuscript somewhere locked away
Right.
for the fans of like, look, this is how I envisioned it ending, even if you don't have like the actual books out. Because what is it? He's got 2 books that he needs to write
Yeah.
to finish it out? No, that's not
Yeah,
happening.
Winds of Winter was supposed to be out like 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's not happening. Yeah, so I don't know. If the TV producers have really taken control of.
I just don't see Jon Snow being on the Iron Throne, because it is so what the fans want. And this show is so in the history of like slapping fans in the face, saying like, you wanted this? Well, fuck you. You don't get it.
No, I agree with you. It's just the question is, who will end up on that throne, or is the throne even going to exist after? Maybe
that's a good point.
That might be another version of the end game, which goes back to the first people, the wildlings. Like, we don't need a king. We're gonna move beyond reset. Yeah. We're gonna move beyond an era where we need to have this Game of Thrones. So that could be it. Because I agree with you. Like, I don't see, like, one, because Jon doesn't really want it.
No, he doesn't. He's not like a supreme leader type.
Yeah, I mean, he could give it to Sansa. Sansa could sit on the Iron Throne. I think it would be a great full circle for her after everything that happened to her in King's Landing, for her to, in the end, sit on the throne. But the thing is, I also don't see Jon Snow dying. Because they already killed him off once. I mean, to do it twice would be...
That's the thing. He was brought back to life to serve a purpose, right? So you got to keep the fucker around.
We shall see. Now, after this episode, I got already Grey Worm on my Death Watch. Now, we're talking Death Watch for the next episode, not for the end of the series, okay? For the battle at Winterfell. Anybody stand out for you for Death Watch? Because I got Grey Worm, and I think I got Tyrion. I think I got Tyrion on the Death Watch. After he talked so much about death this episode, about how he wants to die, brought back that old line about
it was wonderful.
And
in my own bed at the age of 80 with a belly full of wine and a girl's mouth around my cock.
Yeah, maybe a whore's mouth. But so he's really obsessed with death, and then they kind of wanted him to be down in the crypts because they need his mind. He shouldn't be out there fighting. But at the very end of the episode, he gave this look when the White Walkers were coming, as if he was like, nah, man, I want to be up here doing something to help. And we saw that he has fought before
Yes.
at
Yes.
Blackwater, right?
Yes.
So, I don't know. Could this be the end of Tyrion?
I hope not. I hope not. He's my favorite character by far.
I think everybody's favorite character.
Yeah. In terms of Death Watch, I think Jamie and Daenerys are at the top of the list.
But you don't think Jaime's gonna die at Winterfell, though, right? You think it's later?
I think Cersei is gonna do
Yeah.
it.
Okay. That's later, but I'm talking about next episode.
Next episode,
3.
Daenerys is toast.
I agree. Daenerys is toast. Grey Worm for me is toast. I thought for a while that what's his name, the one guy that
Jorah.
was going to be on the Death Watch, but I don't know, something about the scene with him getting the sword. I think it was very symbolic, very meaningful. I think he might survive.
Okay.
Just because of that scene where he got the sword and how much that means to Sam to give it to him.
Right.
To just do all of that for nothing, I don't know. I think just that scene alone made me believe that, hey, I think this guy might survive. And it actually kind of put Sam a little bit more on the Death Watch for me, as much as I want him to survive to the end. Because he seems like he's resolved himself, you know. They had the scene with the 3 guys from the Night's Watch where...
Yeah, that was a good scene.
That was a great scene where he talked about, look, he's got the girl. He was the first one to kill her.
Yeah. Yeah, it made him seem like Indiana Jones.
Yes, you know, and the guy said, man, if we need any more signs, then it's the end of the world. But whenever you have these scenes where characters are giving their whole story, and it seems like, yo, it's been resolved. Like, he's got the girl, he's got a kid, he's respected. I mean, if they do survive, they're going to write songs about him. He got the information out that he needed to get out about the John's true lineage.
Right.
So his character, this episode really resolved itself almost completely. What else is there for him to do other than live happily ever after once the battle is done?
Right.
Usually that's a sign of... He got halfway. He's at 45, almost 50% for me, Death Watch.
Okay.
Tyrion, I don't want him to go.
No, me neither.
But I don't know.
Davis is definitely done.
Who's Davis?
Stannis' old hand. Davis Seaworth.
The old guy.
Yes.
That was giving the soups out.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He could be gone, but I don't care if he dies or not, even though I like him. I like him, but I don't give a shit if he dies.
Yeah, well, that's one of the reasons why.
Yeah. Who else that's meaningful? The Hound, I think, is going to survive. Yeah, I don't think I got anybody else. Maybe Gendry. Could it be like horror movie style? If you fuck, you die?
Yeah, could be. Could be.
It could be.
He's dodged a lot of fucking bullets.
He has, and he's pretty much resolved where else is there for his character to go? I mean, he found out he's a bastard. He was able to tell somebody else. And I think that's important in shows like this, where it's not just the character knows it, but as soon as they tell the other person, like that revelation becomes now part of the universe.
Right.
That's it. It's like you're dead. You don't need to be alive anymore because your story will be told. They will know that, okay, oh, he was a brave warrior who was the bastard of the king, but, you know, he fought with honor. So he could possibly be gone. And I think those are the only ones that gave me a really strong feeling. So Tyrion, Grey Worm, and Sam, more or less, gave me that feeling for this episode. And because they can't kill off the whole cast.
No.
I think at least... Oh, and Daenerys, of course. You know, she's high on my list.
Yeah, Daenerys is number one.
So I think 3 to 4 big deaths, I think, is enough. I mean, they can't kill off all the main players, or we're going to have a really boring second half of the season.
Right.
You need some of those big players there in order to make that second half of the season worth watching, which is going to focus on King's Landing, obviously. And no Cersei this episode, no King's Landing at all. because there's
Yeah.
nothing happening down there. That was my only
No, she
criticism.
sent everyone up there to die,
Yeah.
basically.
No, that was my only semi-criticism of the first episode, is that, I mean, they showed those scenes in King's Landing because he just had to just let people know what's going on, but there's really nothing going on. Because her plan is to do nothing. Just sit
It's a
back.
bad plan.
Yeah. So we shall see. So who are your top death predictions? Daenerys number one.
Daenerys is number one. I guess Davis is my number two.
Mm-hmm.
My number three, I guess I would go with Sam.
Oh, it's gonna be sad if Sam dies, but he's dodged a lot of bullets.
Yeah, but he's emerged as a hero. I mean, if you look at him in the first season, he's like such a punk.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, again, coming full circle,
Could it
these
be?
character evolutions.
So we shall see, guys. But overall, what would be your rating for this episode?
Out of 5, I give it a 4.5. It wasn't the height of drama, but it was everything it should have been.
Yes, and it ended, as we can see here, with the White Walkers, and there's a lot of them.
Yes.
I didn't know there were that many.
Yeah, it's like 20,000 at least.
No, but I thought it was like just a few of that were like the... Because I don't know, what's the difference? Because you have the...
You have the White Walkers and the Whites.
The Whites. The
Yeah.
Whites are the dead, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I thought the dead were the ones that were a lot. The White Walkers, because throughout the series we've only seen like them at most 8 or 9 together. I've never seen a whole group of them.
Except for that episode where they routed the wildlings. That episode, there was a lot.
Where? When they went up in
That was
Hardhome?
Yeah, that was the one where Jon Snow went up north to rescue
Yeah,
all the
that's
wild.
one of my favorite episodes. But even
Yeah.
then, when they're up on a hill, maximum maybe like 10 of them up there with the Night King kind of in the middle. Like I never got this impression that there were like that many of them. But here at the last scene, when they were more or less on the doorsteps of Winterfell, the camera just panned over and it was like a line of them. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, you're fucked.
Yeah, they're definitely fucked. What do you think of their plan to use Bran as the lure?
It's a good plan. It's the only. It's like the Doctor Strange theory. It's like it's not a good plan, but it's the only thing we got. So yeah, let's try it.
Yeah, that might be the only way to get them, because obviously they can't fight forever.
Yeah,
and
they're not going to beat him in numbers.
Yeah, those dead are going to keep coming, so you have to kill the White Walkers in order to kill the Whites.
Well, they have to kill the Night King. That's the thing. They
no,
can't.
the Night King is end game, right?
Yeah.
Then everybody's dead. But if they kill a White Walker, I think a White Walker controls a segment.
Right.
So you kill one White Walker, maybe you kill like 1,000 of the dead. So they gotta aim for those guys.
Yeah.
But obviously the Night King is the head honcho.
Yeah.
Who wasn't in this final scene.
No.
So I think he's holding back because he knows this himself, and he might be riding in with the dragon last minute, and he's after Bran.
Yeah.
That's his main target. And for me, this episode, I'm going off the 10 scale for mine. I think last week I gave it like a hard 8. So I'll give this one an 8.5.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'll give it an 8.5. I thought it was better than last week's episode.
It was.
Despite nothing really happening of consequence other than, of course, Jon telling Daenerys. But, yeah, strong 8.5. So far, a good start of the season. It's making me feel confident that they know what they're doing for the end. Because that's always the scary part when you're ending a show that's so expansive, full of twists and turns, is, are they going to fuck it up in the last season?
Right.
And, I mean, of course, we still have the last episode, which can always screw everything up. But so far, it really feels like they know what they're doing. They know what direction they want to go in. They got this plotted out. Very solid. It's felt like a long movie so far.
Yeah.
And I have a little bit of faith No, actually, a lot of faith that next week is going to be one of those epic things that we'll be talking about for a very long time.
It is. It's gonna be like one of those fucking like the.
Who shot JR?
No,
I've
no.
got, Peter's a huge fan of Dallas.
I am a huge fan
Yeah.
of Dallas, but no, it'll be more like the Battle of what's the Castle Black. It'll be like the Battle of Castle Black episode, like one of
No,
those
I get you.
one
Yeah.
of those episodes where like the episode starts and it's just a battle until the end.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be an hour in what 20 minutes,
Yeah,
and it's gonna be more epic. Actually, the directors, producers of Game of Thrones, they were comparing it to the battle. Oh, I'm suck at all these names, but the second Lord of the Rings movie, the
Mhm.
battle that they had there, that's really famous, and they were saying, no, we want to compete with that level
it'll be better.
of battles. Let me see for all the nerds out there. Lord of the Rings second movie battle, which is really, I mean, that's what makes that movie. It's the Two Towers, and it's the Battle of Helm's Deep. Yeah, which is unbelievable. That's a
Right.
really, really great battle. Although I prefer,
I like the third movie.
yeah, I prefer the third movie. The second movie is not my favorite. The third movie, and I actually like that battle a little bit more than the Battle of Helm's Deep. But the Battle of Helm's Deep is really well choreographed and done. So the producers have said that yes, we want to make this be on that level, and I think they can do it because
Yeah.
for me, I think they've already surpassed some of the stuff in Lord of the Rings, the movies.
Oh yeah. The
As far
Battle
as
of
battle
Castle
scenes.
Black, the Battle of the Bastards, the Battle of the Black Water.
Mhm.
Those three scenes were like beyond like most Hollywood battle scenes.
Yes, definitely, I agree with that 100%. So, all right, guys, this is the end, and we've spoken for an hour, so we kind of got
Yeah.
a good thing going as far as time wise, because the last podcast was about the same length. So, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Thank you for those that did watch. And speaking of which, I'm gonna do something very special. And well, not very special, semi-special. If you just give me a second, I want to give a shout out to somebody who commented in our last podcast, this guy called the Film Don. And he said that he's actually kind of curious to know whether the whole Night King issue is going to be resolved in the next few episodes. I think so, right?
Yeah, I think it'll be resolved in the next episode.
Yeah, I agree. And leave the rest as to who sits on the Iron Throne. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. They're going to get rid of the Night King, and then it's going to be back to old school Game of Thrones. Politicking and figuring out who's going to be there sitting on that throne. And I can see Daenerys and Jon dying, and Tyrion sitting on it. I've read theories about that, about Tyrion being the best guy to sit on the throne. It would be a good ending for me, for Tyrion. But I don't think both Daenerys and Jon are going to die. For me, it's Daenerys.
Yes.
And he's very stoked, and he says he loves our video. Well, thank you for commenting. And thank you for watching. Okay? And so that was my nice moment.
All right. Thank you, Film Don.
Yes. See you guys. Until next time.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.